Sorry about that. For some reason, this went to a second video. So we're just going to do what we're going to do, and we're just going to keep on. This is a continuation of the first video. Through the spiritual expanding. No. Not that. Hold on. Here we go. Sorry. When Blue Butterfly Jaguar Woman Speaks. Okay. Beloveds, listen to the first video. This is the second one. It is what it is. But we're going to keep going. I'm just going to go get right back into it, beloveds. 0. That church, that temple, that mosque, that sacred space for the Holy Spirit to express itself freely as spiritual will within its own divine timing at birth, death, and rebirth. This is a quantum spiritual science of metamorphosis, evolution, maturing, aging, ascending, growing up, so to speak. It translates into words woven in spiritual understanding of the natural nature of nurture. Hold on one moment, beloveds. I am going to close my patio door because a neighbor has their fur baby out and she's speaking. So just hold on. There we go, beloveds. I'm back now. Just a little bit quieter, I hope. Once again, I'm holding this, so please bear with me. For some reason, my friend gave me the light that's a stick and everything, but for some reason, I have fallen in love with holding this phone. So as I do this, and I like the motion and the movability of it and everything. So bear with me, beloveds. I'm quirky. I'm weird like that. Let's just jump straight back into it again. We were speaking of interrupting someone's growth, and that it is a child's mind looking into the predatory proprieties. Wow, okay. Predatory proprieties of a predator that perpetrates crimes against children. Okay. Understanding that this is coming from a immature mind itself, and it is attacking itself. Try to see that. Try to understand that. It's not a excuse. It is not a rationale. It is not a forgiveness. But I want you to understand this mind and this mindset and where this mind comes from, okay? This mind is an ancient mind, and I'm going to get into that deeper. I wrote this Blue Butterfly Jaguar Woman wrote about this, and this is all very new to me, beloveds, because it's coming up to me. It's come up. It's rising up in me. This understanding, this way of looking at it is just coming up in me today. Okay, from everything that I've observed for millennia, I guess. I've been able to write it down. And this world that is manifesting from these immature minds, devoid of spiritual identity, is the reason for me speaking and speaking out in this way. Okay? And again, this is the second video, so a lot was said in the first. A lot is probably repeated in this one, but we're just going to keep moving forward and take it as you will, beloveds. Okay? I am to speak of why this is so serious and why this should be taken so serious. Most of my life, I've had people question me, Valerie, why are you so spiritual? Valerie, why are you so serious? Why are you the way you are? What happened to you to make you that way? What's wrong with you? You know, lighten up. Get a grip. Go have fun. Go do. Go do this. Go do that. Go do. In other words, be anything other than you, Valerie, because you are too spiritual. You are too serious for this world. Your frequencies and your spectrum of light interrupts me. It disrupts me having fun and wanting to just be. And that is because the nature of our spiritual existence is at stake once again. Because we have given power, we have chosen to give power to the mind over the spirit. There is a part that was shared that was a pinned video on my Facebook page. It's also on my YouTube channel. I can't think of the name. I can't pull the name right now because I'm in a totally different space. But it is about sexuality. It's about Kuan Yin riding the dragon and the dragon not riding Kuan Yin. That is about spiritual will and the mind. The dragon is the mind. Kuan Yin is the spirit. It went into sexuality, but it always does, beloved, because that is where the mind goes. Intercourse. Okay? That is how it needs to navigate everything. That is how it wants to penetrate and rub and multiply itself. Okay? So that is its immaturity. Understand that. To not want to grow up is a choice of the mind rebelling against the spiritual will of creation itself. It is the literal manifestation of the terrible 2 stage of development. Also, I didn't write this, but it's also the teenage stage of development as well. It's about the changes of the body. It's about going from one state of conscious awareness of yourself into another state of conscious awareness of yourself. Just like that caterpillar going into that butterfly stage. Okay, it's the resistance to the change. The resistance of the infant to the toddler stage. The resistance of the toddler to the preschool stage. The preschool stage to the middle school stage, to the pre-tween and the tween stage to the adult stage, and the adult stage all the way to the crone stage, to the old age. This, again, beloveds, is about resurrection in the month of October. This is the number 10. It's very powerful. And I know I'm speaking a lot and I'm repeating a lot, but take it slowly, beloveds. Take it as you need to, and dissect it the way you need to get the nurturance from it, because you're being fed unconditional love through spirit. You can take this to mean many things. Wait a minute. Let me just read it again, because I can't go in the middle of it. To not want to grow up is a choice of the mind rebelling against the spiritual will of creation itself. It is the literal manifestation of the terrible 2 stages of development. Only a child's mind would want to pimp a butterfly, to speed up its growth process in order to profit from the resulting spiritual deformation of its frequency and spectrum as a being of light. Again, I'm going to put a pin in it right there and stop it for a moment, because I want you to understand whose spiritual mind this is speaking of. Whose immature spiritual mind is this speaking of? From the Christian standpoint, this would be Lucifer. This would be Satan, the devil. This would be the adversary. This would be the liar. Okay? He's known as many things in many different ways, in many different cultures. But the energy, the mindset is always the same. It doesn't want to be governed by spiritual maturity. It rebels against the conscious awareness, wisdom. Okay? Let's just keep going. You can take this to mean many things, but it is the ancient story of the heavens, those who grew upwards in their expanding spiritual evolution, but then became trapped and buried by their minds and the shallowness of their minds' desires to not die. That is very powerful. That is very prolific. Blue Butterfly Jaguar Woman says, take note of that. Those that do not want to die. Those that do not want to experience the natural course way of things. Okay? The natural way of things is birth, death, and rebirth. But they are afraid of the death. They want to skip that part. And in skipping that part, you stay in that immature mindset. You don't develop, you don't grow, you are deformed. Okay? Your desires are deformed. Your will is deformed. Your ways is deformed because you don't want to grow up. You don't want to die. Your old ways have to die, beloved. Death is a process. Death is what the caterpillar experienced. And then it was reborn into the butterfly. This is the metamorphosis process. This is the quantum physics and science of change. This is the explanation of the divine feminine mystery, the mystery of the womb, the most sacred of places, the mound, the temple, the church, the mosque. Birth, death, and rebirth exists within that womb, that ground zero, that way of being spiritual. and aligned with spirituality. I want you to think of quicksand. I want you to think of being trapped in that. I want you to think of the matrix system, she says. She says, think of the matrix system of how it was shown, the wombs that were made, and the beings in those wombs. Okay, when Neo went back and saw himself and had to be removed out of there. And he figured out, you're not that, you're spirit. That's your flesh, that's your body, that's your mind that lives in that state of consciousness, that state of unconscious sleep. That's a delusion. That's not real. Let's free you from that. You are a spiritual being. Grow up. Allow your mind to die unto itself. October, fall, the leaves falling from the trees. So they can give warmth to the roots. Divine purpose, divine language, beloveds, mother tongue, not man's logic and reasoning. But it is the ancient story of the heavens, those who grew upwards in their expanding spiritual evolution and then became trapped and buried by their minds in the shallowness of their minds' desires. So they got trapped in the shallowness of their mind's desires. I want you to think of narcissist. I want you to think of the story of how the shallowness, he looked and saw himself in the mirror and got trapped in that. And that's his mind. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Shallowness. Okay? The opposite of the depths of your spiritual unlimited potential, possibilities. They became trapped and buried. Trapped and buried. Okay? That's why it's taken us so many millennia, so many ages. This is the Aquarian age. This is the age of consciousness refilling itself, replenishing itself, refreshing itself, rebirth, reborn, resurrection, rising. Okay? For consciousness to rise up, to ascend. The Kundalini to rise, however you choose. Whatever wisdoms that resonate with you, for you to imprint upon yourself the spiritual way of moving, of progressing, of evolving, of being, not doing. Profiting from being, not profiting from doing. Okay? They became trapped and buried by their minds in the shallowness of their minds' desires to not die, but live inside a narcissistic reality born, manifested, created of addiction to mental and physical pleasures, absent spiritual conscious awareness, to not be reborn, to not expand into the realms of higher heavens, higher frequencies of existing as spiritual will, and not just aspects of. So when you hear all of these beings speaking of bliss, sexual bliss, spiritual bliss, understand what they're speaking of. It is a certain conscious frequency. A lot of people say when you have a sexual orgasm, you're experiencing the little death. Understand why the mind is trapped in that form of death, and it seeks only that form of death. Because it doesn't want to expand beyond that. And it wants to convince you, this is it. This is it. This is it. Jackpot, bingo, Pekino. You just hit the lottery. Here it is. And this feeling right here. And this thought right here. And this one little frequency where your body is going. That's it. Immature. Immature. You're cheating yourself of all the unlimited possibilities. For one, ejection, erection, ejaculation at a time. Bliss is a constant state. It's a heavenly frequency. There is no intermittence. There is no interference of the mind in that state. The mind is not welcome. It cannot interfere. It cannot impose itself. It cannot penetrate. It cannot perpetrate. It cannot prey upon. But you have to be empty of your mind and your need to attach and identify with that in order to be receptive enough to hold that blissful vibration, that resounding spiritual song, choir, vibrational spectrum, light, frequency. Let me keep going. We are told a third of the heaven let me just I wanna Beloveds, I keep repeating myself. Okay, please bear with me with this, because the message itself is so profound that it bears hearing it over and over and over again, so that it embeds itself into your conscious, into your spiritual conscious awareness. I'm not trying to reach your mind. I'm not trying to communicate or talk or connect with your mind. I'm just going to read the last paragraph, beloveds, and come back to the point that I was making, okay? But then they became trapped and buried by their minds in the shallowness of their minds' desires to not die, but to live inside a narcissistic reality, born, manifested, created of addiction to mental and physical pleasures, absent spiritual conscious awareness, to not be reborn, to not expand into the realms of higher heavens, higher frequencies of existing as spiritual will. That's the point. As spiritual will. When you grow up, when you mature, you begin to exist as spiritual will, not the mind's will. Big difference. Big difference. And not just aspects of the spiritual will. See, the mind will say, oh, okay, well, let's give you an aspect here and an aspect there. That's an aspect of the spiritual will, but it's not really spiritual will, but it's really the mind's will, but it's an aspect. It's let that be good enough. No. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. If it's of the mind, it's not good enough. Never will be. Never has been. History shows it. His story shows it. That mind is immature. It's self-destructive. It's self-sabotaging. It's self-defeating. It's self-hating. It's self-serving. It's narcissistic in its games and its intents and its bestiality. It is devoid of unconditional love. And it denies itself that by choice. That's what is so powerful. It cheats itself. That mind, baby. We are told a third of the heavens was so affected and infected by this separate mind's desire, disease, identification, obsession, that war broke out in heaven, which means a battle for dominion, hierarchy, the right to rule, to be right as the mind would mansplain it. The right to be right. The right, R-I-T-E, to be right, R-I-G-H-T, W-R-I-T. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was consciousness, baby. Unconditional love. You can change it as much as you want to. But the true frequency, it's going to always rise. It's going to always be heard through the chaos, through the noise, through those running around like chickens with their heads cut off in the yard while you watch them and see them. A third of the heavens was so afflicted and infected by this separate mind's desire, diseased identification, obsession. And so, beloveds, as human beings, when spirit tells you you have a being that can be visualized, a spirit being that can be visualized in the form of a hungry, angry, roaring lion, after you. It's got your scent, your spiritual scent. Has for millennia. Has way back when your genetics first began to bloom and blossom. It seeks you to destroy you. And how does it do that? Oh, you go to Job with that one. It was given permission. That's part of the experiment. That's part of the law of divine choice. Let me keep going, beloveds, because there's so much here. There's so much here to unpack. Like I said, I'm still processing it, and it's just coming out. It's just flowing from so many different places within me that are feeling vindicated, verified, seen. They are coming home. They have ground to stand on now. They have had the wings, but now they understand that it's not the branch that holds you up, baby. Even if the branch breaks, is destroyed, a wind comes along and takes that whole tree, you got wings. You ain't too fat to fly. Pimp that. Pimp that. Unconditional love, also known as the justice of wisdom, gave these special minds, devils and demons, access to flesh, reincarnating lower spiritual vibratory beings, newbies, that chose to bear witness to the test, the battle, the competition between spiritual will versus the mind's will, which is stronger, which should be implemented by right of spiritual sovereignty and the justification of the law of divine choice. Whoa, mouthful. Wisdom is going to be implemented by the right of spiritual sovereignty and the justification of the law of divine choice. This is the same choice that was twisted. It has to be realigned. It has to come back to itself. That's part of the spiritual plan. Has to come back to itself. Has to liquefy and come back to its higher self. Has to let go of one state to go into another state of being. Access was granted, a galaxy, then a universe was born, a living planet. And the living planet, butterfly, blue butterfly, jaguar woman explained a living planet as an aspect of spiritual will or nature. And she showed me that by showing me the earth as being an earth mother with her own personality, with her own spirit, with her own way of being, with her own unconditional love and her ability to nurture. And her cycles of birth, death, and rebirth as a living being, host to other living beings, spiritual living beings, was designated. Life began existing as aspects of spiritual wisdom, unconditional love, grace, and mercy bound by unlimited spiritual possibilities, alongside the mind's influence. Soon, the mind began to infect and overtake the flesh, and the spirit was removed from its throne, divine place of regulation of the being, and the mind took over, demoting the spirit and regulating it to the trap of limitations conceived by the alchemy of the mind. This was done within the realm of spiritual sovereignty and the justification of the law of divine choice. You know, when you've been accused of something and you have to turn yourself in, whether you're guilty or not, you're assumed innocent, but the case has to go and that everything has to play out, and then you're freed. That's what we're talking about, beloveds. It's amazing how this is playing out and manifesting itself in our reality, in our physical reality, once again, with America, with globally, but specifically with America, the northern and southern Americas. Okay? And again, we're talking about the direction of up and fall, spiritually, metaphysically. Justification of the law of divine choice. Thus the case was made and overseen by a divine council of beings of different frequencies, spectrums, vibrations of spiritual light, unconditional and conditional spiritual love. So you have to understand there's a balance. There's a balance on the jury. There's a balance on the council. There's a balance on the advisory boards. All kind of light frequencies. There's a balance of them. There's not just one on one side and one on the other side. No. Understand the galactic, universal, collective. Okay? Past, present, and future merging. Okay? Through unconditional love. All right? Let me just keep going, beloveds. Thus the case was made and overseen by a divine council of beings of different frequencies, spectrums, vibrations of light, unconditional and conditional spiritual love. Thus the preference is found in the maturity of the process. Proceeding is planned, uninterrupted by anything other than spiritual choice of unconditional or conditional spiritual love. What you as a being chose is law, is manifested, is upheld by your doing, your voice, your vision, your version of what spiritual love is. It is manifested in your culture, in your human beingness, in your laws, in your governments. In your religions, in your minds, in your schools, in your universities. The mind has become king of your understandings. 1 minute. Okay, let's continue, beloveds. I got cold. The mind has become king of your understandings. It is the earthly identity that is chosen above the spiritual existence. It is seen in the way the earth is loved with the mental conditions of the mind's vengeful lust for power and territory / principalities. What does that mean? It means look what mankind's mind has allowed to happen to the water system. to the air that we breathe, to the earth itself, to the ground that we've bathed and saturated with pesticides and poisons and waste and nuclear waste and filth and this and that and all the other. This is what we've done to our home. This is what we've done to what we live, where we breathe. Now we sell water. And we call it filtered. And it's okay now. Blue butterfly. Let's keep going, beloveds. The emergence of a butterfly is born from the destruction of its being, sacrificed in faith of what it is to become. Expand into spiritually. The emergence of a butterfly. When a butterfly emerges from its cocoon, it is reborn. It is resurrected from the destruction of its being, from the liquefaction of it. That whole process gave it a new body. The old body being sacrificed in the faith of what is to become, expanding its spirituality, giving it wings. Metamorphosis. Metaphorically and literally, quantum physics, quantum spirituality speaking to us in this moment. For many reasons, beloveds. I'll let you figure out those reasons. I won't get up here and preach doom and gloom to you, because that's also a choice. I don't choose that, and I don't choose to back that choice. And I know the higher frequencies. I know their capabilities. I know their properties. And I know their ways. And I know that enough of you are done with suffering. You've had enough. You've had enough of man's mystery. And you want the truth of existence, which is unconditional love. It's just that simple. That's the truth. It's nothing complicated. It's nothing above you or beyond you. It's nothing you have to buy or purchase. It's nothing someone has to teach you. It's something you have to learn by being still within yourself and learning how to love yourself. And you do that by realizing you're not your mind. You're not your feelings, and you're not this body. And you allow the metamorphosis of this spiritual revelation to help you rise up, to help you ascend out of the tar pits, the stagnation, the stubbornness, the stiff-neckedness, the hard-headedness of your mind. Its wants, its needs, its identity, its personhood. It wants you to be made in its image. Its image has limitations. Its image only repeats itself. It cannot expand farther than that. It's limited. But if you accept and prefer the limited version, the imitation of your spiritual will, then that's the law of your choice. That's the reality that you exist in, continue to exist in. That's your health. But when you choose to no longer reside in that state of conscious awareness, you rise up and you rise out of it. You grow wings like that butterfly. Let me keep going, beloveds. The emergence of a butterfly is born from the destruction of its being sacrificed in faith of what it is to become. And what it is to become is expanded spirituality, no matter what form, frequency, vibration, or light color spectrum that takes. It is still expanded spiritual conscious awareness. Okay? So it's an upgrade. Don't be afraid of the upgrade. The color blue not only represents a spiritual portion of the blood before mixture, but a pure representation of language, the mother tongue, the communication of wisdom within nature, and the evolutionary metamorphosis that is the purpose of its design. And this is to be seen and known through Mary, the mother of Christ, and also through her lineage, those that made and dealt with the color blue. Okay? And there are many different versions of blue. Lapis, lotus, many different forms of blue, beloved. But understand that this is specifically a frequency and a vibration within blue that is spiritual, that is divinely feminine, that gives birth to a purity of consciousness, that helps you to resurrect yourself spiritually. Okay? The color blue not only represents a spiritual portion of the blood before mixture, but a pure representation of language, the mother tongue, the communication of wisdom within nature, and the evolutionary metamorphosis that is the purpose of its design. And it will get there eventually in divine timing. No matter how many times it is interfered with by the mind, and must be reborn despite the resulting forms or frequencies or spectrums. Spiritual will is one. It is the reason the mind exists at all. The mind was born and created itself. Okay? Let me break that down, beloveds. Just give me a moment. Okay, I had to get some clarification, beloveds. With the clarification came this, okay? We are reincarnated because of the mind. We are reincarnated because we weren't able to grow out of the mind. I want you to understand, that's the image that I'm receiving. That you die, you're reborn because you did not mature. Your spiritual conscious awareness keeps you in the realm, frequency of earth, this state, this conscious awareness that you're part of the collective of. When you are able to raise your spiritual conscious awareness by expanding your spiritual conscious awareness beyond the framework and attachments and desires of your mind, that is when you no longer reincarnate upon this plane of existence. Okay? That's what I had to get clarity on. And let me just read that part again. The color blue not only represents a spiritual portion of the blood before mixture, but a pure representation of language, the mother tongue, communication of wisdom within nature, and the evolutionary metamorphosis that is the purpose of its design. It will get there eventually in divine timing, no matter how many times it is interfered with, and must be reborn despite the resulting forms or frequencies or spectrums. Spiritual will is one. So no matter how many multiverses are fragmented and splintered, it's going to all come back to one. Okay? It is the reason the mind exists at all. The mind was born and created itself from spiritual will. So let me break that down for you, beloveds. Let me just go there a little bit with that, okay? Understand what the mind is. The mind is a reflection of spiritual conscious awareness. When Narcissus looked into that mirror, he saw his mind. He thought that image was of himself. He fell in love with that image. He fell in love with his mind. His mind took over. It's just as simple. And for those of you who are not familiar with the story of Narcissus, I suggest you do some research, do your due diligence, and understand why narcissist is such a word being bandied about in this stage of our conscious awareness. Why it has come back full force. Who it is in the image portraying of. Who is it showing you? What is a narcissist? Who has been subjected? The narcissist is the predator. Who is the prey? What does it prey upon? What does it feed upon? What is it sated upon? What does it lick its lips at? Whose identity? Whose spiritual will? What trap does it want to set? What butterfly does it want to pimp? All of these things, beloveds, all of these things, all of these things are what blue butterfly woman, blue butterfly jaguar woman, when you look at the blending of a blue butterfly and a jaguar woman, the spirits of these two beings merged into one, giving you and speaking to you in this manner. The concepts of choice, the reality of the law of choice, the specific matriculation of the mind to do its dance of seduction and distract you from your spiritual will so that you give in to the mind's will. That means the mind is riding you, you're not riding the mind. Let me get to it. Don't ever get it twisted. What is meant to be will be because of the first choice born, the first sun, the first frequency, the first aspect from which all others came into reality as possibilities, no matter how the story is woven, no matter the colors or the powers of principalities. And when I said no matter the colors, she said no matter how the colors are blended, no matter how the colors come together, no matter how the colors are formed or assimilated through alchemy, no matter the colors or the powers of principalities, all will satisfy spiritual will this is so, okay. No matter the colors, no matter how the story is woven or the powers of principalities, all will satisfy spiritual will by way of existing as existence. Killing yourself is literally killing yourself to eventually give birth to a version of yourself that agrees with the original birth, death, and rebirth way of existing instead of fighting against it because of fear of death. That is only of the mind's view of itself, of its worth, of its power, of its superior privilege, of its ability to civilize through the promise of wealth, which must give one a better appearance, quite like the story of the emperor's new clothes. Now, beloveds, when she gave that to me, she showed me the industry, the age-old industry of, how can I say this, reassigning, of redoing your appearance through surgery, through cosmetics, butt lifts, butt implants, breast augmentations, whether you want to go bigger or smaller, whether you want higher cheekbones, whether you want your eyes uplifted or whatever. Do you know how many women and men go through these procedures in order to satisfy someone's mind about appearance? Because all they care about is the surface of appearance, is what it appears, has nothing to do with the spirit inside. Only the appearance sells. You want to make money? You want to be popular? You want to be liked? You want likes? You want to be validated? Then we've got to change your appearance. You have to fit into this certain mold, this certain box. that's created by the mind. And the mind is going to change. So, 1 minute, one look may be hot, and then 2-3 minutes, hours, years, days, it's going to change. And you're going to be stuck with whatever augmentation that you had. Then you got to go get it redone again so that you can be hipped again. By the time you get done chiseling on yourself, redecorating your flesh, where's your spirit? Where's your spiritual will? Where's your choice? What have you done with it? What have you done to it? In the name of what? In the name of who? Those that need to pimp a butterfly? The oldest mindset in the world. Let me change you. Let me make you better. Better than. Let me help you. Let me help you love yourself. You need to be like this. You need to look like this. You need to do this. You need to constantly be doing this. If you're not constantly doing this, there's something wrong. This is the message of Blue Butterfly Jaguar Woman. And I'm going to end it here, beloveds. It is what it is, and it's been happening for me all these years, 57 years. This anniversary, 57 again is the number 12. That is the number 3. That is the Holy Trinity. That is the Holy Spirit coming to rest. Okay? To be still. By choice. October is very powerful this year. There is a lot going on spiritually. A lot is changing. A lot is dying. A lot is being reborn, and a lot is seeking resurrection. Understand that, beloveds. Have patience, first and foremost with yourself. Please allow yourself to get the rest that you need. Stay hydrated, stay warm. If you're in cold places. Like I said, right now I'm feeling the cold because there's a lot of spirit energy around me right now, and I know that. Again, this day started for me with my mother, remembering her getting all dressed up and dolled up for parties. And the change that would take place, her metamorphosis. So this is very spiritual, and I know that I'm going to watch it again and again because there's so much here, and it'll keep unraveling. It'll keep unwinding. It'll keep unfolding. Okay. Namaste, beloveds. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video and share it. Thank you.